I am walking back to the place that I'm staying. I came out to Lowe's because it's just up the way, and they have Wi-Fi. And I wanted to upload this video, and it literally, to upload a video, it takes like 4 gigabytes of data. 4 literal gigabytes of data. And my data that I pay $35 a month for only allows 10 gigabytes. So that goes fairly quickly. And obviously I can only upload a couple things at a time if I'm using data. So now that I realize that Lowe's has Wi-Fi, I'm just going to end up probably coming over here to upload. It's like it's only like a 10, 15 minute walk. It's not that long. It's a great night. It's also fucking full mooning outside. So that's great. It's actually a blue moon, which means that it's the second full moon of the month. We had one on the 1st of this month, and now we have one the day before the last day. I'm pretty sure tomorrow's the last day of the month. Actually, they're technically, so the full moon isn't even full right yet. I think it peaks at about 3 a.m. or so, maybe even later than that. So it's technically tomorrow's moon, which is happening tonight. Sorry, I'm crossing the street. But yeah, so I am out here. I had to upload this video, but I didn't actually get to finish it earlier because I can never finish anything on this fucking phone. I don't mean to have a bad attitude about it, but it's been frustrating me nonstop just because this phone is, it's certainly not sufficient for what it is I'm trying to do. I mean, I guess I get the job done, but not without it taking, so many more hours than it needs to. I mean, I went from having an iPhone to having this phone essentially, and not even, I had a different phone in between, I think. No, this is the phone that I got. Went from an iPhone to this phone, and this phone has been fucking just shit since I got it, to be honest. Like, not trying to shit on the things that I have or not be appreciative that I have a phone at all. It just, I do so much work on my phone that requires a lot of like multitasking and be able to do like editing and all that different type of stuff. And this phone just doesn't make use of any of those things. So it ends up just being a point of frustration. So that's what I'm trying to clear out. And of course, like, I'm dealing with that as I'm trying to like cleanse myself and clear myself to be able to actually, get on task with a full moon. Like, I don't do any specific rituals, but I like to do intention work. It's, I keep myself in the phases of the moon. And as long as I've been doing that, it seemed to keep me in proper alignment. So that's the way I do it, but it's almost like inevitable that as I start trying to focus on getting my energy straight, just all this shit comes up to keep me from being in proper alignment. I can't be in proper alignment if I'm frustrated. It's like this chaotic energy, that takes up space and is distracting. It's just not useful. It's not good energy to work with. I don't know. I just, it was fine. And then so as I started to experience this random frustration, which like came out of nowhere, and I projected it at my phone because my phone is frustrating me for sure. Like, but I'm aware that this is like it's heavier than that. The phone isn't even doing anything right now, and I still feel this energy. And I keep praying about it and calling it off. But there is definitely other energies at work trying to keep me down, trying to block me from manifesting something better for myself, trying to keep me in a confused headspace or a negative headspace. And this specific moon cycle is very important to me. It is the harvest moon, and is the symbol of reaping what you've sown all year. So to have these negative energies coming up, like it is part of the part of what this is releasing of kind of the stickier karmic energies that have just been, that have kind of found their way to hide, and it's just pulling those things out. So I'm willing to work with it. It's not, I'm not letting it frustrate me. It just is what it is. It's not that there's anything specific even. Well, so I guess it's really strange because what I've been kind of being called to work on is reharnessing my sexual energy. And like throughout this entire process, through this journey, like when I set out with the intention of focusing in, honing in on my sexual energy in a sacred way so that I could use it for sexual healing. That's still what I'm doing. But my concept when I first started out was like to be quite chaste and to harness the energy into some sort of creative form other than sexual, to use that creative energy in another way. And that's something I generally do anyways with my art and writing and photography and all of it. I mean, it's all I am full of sacral energy, and so that generally is what I'm using to create with. But this is different. This is like it's so strange. There's such a weird mix. I still haven't come to a full conclusion about it. Like, on the one hand, I don't know, because that's what it is. Like, I've been being taught that my tendency to be like I have a tendency to be too stoic or too dogmatic or too not refined, but too defined, too like particular with my energy, and like too like I've had this concept, and obviously it's been trained into me because it does not come from me naturally. People that know me naturally, anybody that knows me naturally knows that I'm an extremely sexual being, quite open, have no problem being anyway sexually. But I was trained with this, Christian guilt about basically any and all sexuality. So that's really put me in just a position to like reconsider exactly what it is I'm doing with myself. Because thank you, universe. It's so nice in here. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chad. Oh, this is so nice. So like I've had, I started out with this concept that like, and on the same hand, like obviously like we're talking about fucking me. So like I've also been like, you know, selling content and drawing porn for years and, just being away like my entire everything. Really my entire like everything that Jam Fox kind of stands for, it seems, at least at this point, has been like sexual freedom and expression, but definitely sexuality. And it's not that I have any problem with that. Don't have a problem with that, but I guess I do. And I guess maybe that's what I'm kind of struggling with, because like for some reason it doesn't feel it doesn't feel like I don't want to say that. I really need to think about what I'm saying, because I'm kind of just saying shit. Okay. So, okay. I mean, that's literally like when I was coming into myself as an adult and when I was learning how to express myself as an individual, and so much of how I've been able to identify myself and express myself as an individual has all revolved around my sexuality. And I think that's pretty much to be expected. I'm not going to be one of those typical, because I'm a Scorpio, even though that's true. And I do think that those things have some effect, but I think it's more just like, the, nature of my trauma and like, the nature of my trauma, because then my healing process came also through sexuality. And so I found myself that way, and I've never had a problem expressing myself that way, but I've also learned over time how to express myself in different ways and to not limit myself to my sexuality. And I've continued to kind of expand that intentionally over time to the point where people, I guess, really don't know what to make of me for the fact that like I have this raw sexuality that is seemingly explicit. It's so much more like open and expressive than people generally tend to be with theirs. And so people get like a feeling about it, but then on the other hand, it's literally on the same hand, it's not even the other hand. The same person that I am also has an aspect that is like a sex counselor. Like I do sex therapy and I do regular therapy that has nothing to do with sex. And like a lot of people, I think, if you only know me from social media and you've based your concept of me also off of social media, like you probably, I need to do better. I need to do better just because like I know that like I'm not, I don't know, fully conveying myself, because I limit myself when it comes to social media. I do and I don't. Twitter is kind of a hit or miss. Sometimes I get real serious and post serious things. But usually Twitter is where I actually tend to post the most like inappropriate stuff or like the least disciplined things. And I still do it with intention. Everything that I post there is like either a reflection of my sense of humor, good or bad, or an active reflection of my actual like belief system. And sometimes I post things like for the sake of being not contradictory. It's in the contradiction that you find the value of the concept, because if I post something that's like deep and thought-provoking that lets you know kind of where I'm coming from a theological point or like a philosophical point or an emotional point, and then you see me post something else that like is technically low vibrational or shallow or like seemingly contradictory, that space in between is actually what allows, that's where I actually exist. And that's it, I post those things on purpose I post that way purposely. Um, uh, and then like I kind of do that across the board. Like my Instagram's like that. I used to do a lot of poetry in my photos and stuff like that. I haven't really done poetry for a long time now. Um, and that's something I would like to get back into. But like with my photography or with my art or with the things that I post on Instagram, like that always tends to be like, I put a lot of comedy. Instagram and Twitter both are where all of them. I put comedy on all of it. Um, and my comedy is wild. But at the same time, I also try to post thought-provoking things that are, reflections of the profound experiences that I've had in my life. I just try to be very real. And like, that's my thing about it, is that like people, you can't actually judge me off my social media, but at the same time, like everything that I post for a reason in that way. I post to try to convey myself as genuinely as possible. Obviously like Instagram is like photography, right? And it's art and it's supposed to look very aesthetic. So there's an aspect of that that's not genuine, but there's an aspect of that is. I'm an artist. I've always appreciated art, especially abstract art. I think that's something I try to put into everything I do is a form of art, is a form of expression that is used to not to define a point or to lead a person into any specifications, but to just allow a space for feeling and experiencing. And that's everything. Everything I do is an abstract art. What would you call it? Like, not project, but like, performance, I guess, or like, I don't know, some sort of artistic expression. But it's just weird because like I have sold content and I did have a Pornhub and I have been a porn addict, and so much of the stuff that I do is sexually explicit. That's the point of like a lot of like my humor, even, and my art especially. And it's just weird because like, I don't know, I'm in this state of like, of transition. And I think that naturally I would think like the way that I've kind of always gone about things too is that when I've reached this like urge to develop and to evolve and to progress and to transition into something greater, better, or more mature, more in alignment with myself, it's always kind of, it's been so strange, but like how it's come across is that like I finally hit a wall where I've been able to recognize that like, oh, the things I'm actively engaged in are a proper reflection of myself. And in the kind of turning those tables around so that things are a better reflection of myself, I actually end up changing myself, and those things change as well. And it ends up being, it ends up being like a whole different transition. I've taken on so many new qualities and new aspects of myself. And that's more what it seemed like new aspects of it, not new, but undiscovered aspects of myself that I've uncovered and began to, accept and express. And it's weird because it's almost felt like there's been this weird pull to almost become like to put all of the sexuality away and to just become a very chaste monk-like person, and in order to be taken more seriously and in order to be received more respectfully. And there's definitely an aspect of that that's valid for the fact that like, when I conduct myself differently and when I hold myself differently and when I'm not just like sexually exploitative all the time, I do get treated differently and I do get treated with more respect and people do actively listen to me more. But I think we're also coming into different times, and like, I don't know, man. It's a weird one because there's also been this like awareness of self that like I need to be able to embrace my sexuality, not like put these things away. Like it was weird. I had this concept the other day where like earlier this year, I came out as a woman, which I know is silly to a lot of people, but to a lot of people who've known me personally and known like my struggles with my gender identity and my sexuality and like, for the past like 5 years or so, it's been about the past 5 years that I've openly identified as trans, just not with any desire to like get surgery or anything. I didn't really know how to express it fully because I didn't want to take away from those who are experiencing a different process, in my personal experience, what allowed me to come home to myself was accepting myself exactly as I am without having to transition into anything else. I've matured, I've developed, I have transitioned into a more solid form of myself, but I never have pursued like I used to, and I learned not to pursue like changing my physical appearance to try to match my internal perception of myself. Rather, I've worked to receive my internal perception of myself regardless of my external. And that's allowed me to then be able to receive my external exactly as it is and to just work with that and to be completely satisfied with that. And I'm quite happy for that. But at the same time, like, I had this concept just like maybe yesterday or 2 days ago that like there isn't anything wrong with transitioning in any regard, with becoming anything. I am my own character in my own game, just as anybody else is, and everybody has the right to do with their character as they please and to live their lives as they please and to make the most of it. And who am I to judge what that's supposed to look like for anyone else? I can barely figure that out for myself half the time. So like, as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about how like I came earlier this year to the conclusion, it's not that I had already come to the conclusion that I didn't want to get surgery to become a man. But I still kind of struggled with the concept like, but should I portray myself as a man? Should I start expressing myself more that way and like talking, communicating, using a language that allows people to understand that that's where I'm coming from more? Should I get people, because then I started having like, it's only been within the last few years that people have actually actively, like people close to me have actively started being like, you know what, I never thought to ask you your pronouns. What are your pronouns? Because they become aware that I am in that category. And man, it really touches me to hear that from people. It's so strange because I never thought about it growing up. It was never an option for me. Even as an adult, it wasn't something. That's why they're bringing it up now. But like, I just never thought about it. And so it wasn't something that I like ever enforced on anybody or anything like that. I never really cared. And there are plenty of times that people have, misgendered me and called me a boy in any regard. And I've always loved that. I've always appreciated that. But at the same time now I've come into a point where like I can genuinely appreciate being a woman and being received as such. It's weird because like in myself I still feel like myself. I always identified myself as a boy trapped in a woman's body. I don't feel trapped in my body any longer though. So it's weird because like I still identify as the same person I always did. I just don't feel the same feelings I always did, I guess. There isn't like a confusion about it like there was, or like a drive to be anything else like there was, or even to like try to define it as anything different. I don't care. Like I'm a woman because that's, I'm a woman because I have a vagina and because I portray myself as such. I don't try to, I receive the feminine and I embrace it and I portray it and I live in that. I don't try to convey myself as a masculine. I just am, you know? And so like, I don't know, it's always been a weird point for me. And like so much of that is what drove my sexuality in so many ways. Like feeling so masculine allowed me this space to like kind of become not aggressive, but a little dominant sexually in ways. Not even. I'm not in the bedroom terribly dominant. Um, I'm not terribly submissive either, to be honest. But it's not about any of that. It's like I just don't even know if these things are fully mutually exclusive. But like what I was thinking about the other day was like, I always kind of felt like transitioning in any way into a man, in any way, trying to portray myself as anything different than what it is that I've, I guess, just been trained to believe that I'm supposed to be more than anything. Because, like, what the fuck does it matter? I could be literally anything or anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I personally can, like, do anything and I'd still be me. So I guess a lot of it has been trained in me, that concept that, like, wanting to change things about myself physically is somehow shallow or pedantic. But I don't think that's necessarily the case by any means. I think for me personally, that would have been the case this entire time. And that's why I was driven to come to the points that I've come to. And I'm so thankful to come into myself now and to not feel a drive to like be somebody else or to do something else or to have to portray myself some other way just to feel okay enough myself. But at the same time, I can recognize now, especially in this weird period of transition through this moon, that like it doesn't matter. Like if in 10, 15, 20 years, if it tomorrow I decided that I wanted to start doing that, it would be different than it would have been if I would have done it before, because I'm no longer seeking a sense of identity outside of myself. I know who I am. So now I'm free to do whatever the fuck I want, and I can do it without that like thing in my head telling me that I need to do any of these things in order to feel valid. I am valid exactly as I am, literally exactly as I am, however I choose to be. However I choose to be. If I chose that I wanted to completely give up the, trying to be righteous and trying to teach people better and trying to help people, like, and I just wanted to start living for myself, like, that would be valid. That'd be valid. There isn't right or wrong. It's my life. I get to choose for what it is. Would that benefit more people? Probably not. But maybe it would. Who am I to say? I try to stay in alignment with my highest power and in the moment, because I really can't dictate what the future holds and how the currents of my like environment and just society as a whole are being affected by my influence or vice versa. And because of that, like, I mean, I can't, I go with the flow. I go with the flow. So if the flow tomorrow goes to the right, I go to the right. If the flow tomorrow goes to the left at some point, I go to the left. I try to stay in alignment. Now, obviously what I was talking about earlier was just that, like, as I was in alignment and doing what I intended to do, I fell out of it and into a point of frustration. And I kind of felt myself for the last like few hours prior to that, coming into that state of mind. And I had been warned even that, there's these energies that are trying to convince me of a confusion that is very subtle and very disarming in that way, in order to keep me from manifesting my proper alignment, which is like the whole goal of right now. Now that happened, the same thing happened the last moon. I was so excited about it, and I was in Missouri with these girls, the hippie girls, and we had planned to kind of have a thing together. We were going to sit around the fire and sing songs and talk about our transition, what the next stage of our evolution was going to look like, what we were expecting for the next phase of our lives, what we were planning on manifesting, and then kind of all doing it together in order to bring our energies to that point. And as soon as it started, we just immediately all felt this like heaviness and this weird like weariness and this weird like sense of procrastination kind of about the energy, I guess. And I even told them where I was like, it's weird because it feels like we're just not on top of it right now. And I can tell just from the way that the moon is that like it's going to take a couple days for us to even process the energies that we're all receiving right now. Like right now we're in a state of receiving, but we don't feel that way because we're actively wanting to manifest. And it's going to be a couple days of us like working out that little bit of struggle before we actively receive the energies we need to in order to manifest. So it's weird because like it's nice to be able to get together and do this, but it's just not hitting like we expected it to because the energy isn't right there. But that was because that was the last point of that. That was the point of procrastination. That was supposed to be the point of kind of scooping up all the rest of the bullshit in order to move forward, which it was. But what did I carry with me still? The thing was that